If you want to continue to follow our adventure, click subscribe. So you don't miss anything, click the bell notification. I've talked a lot about being safe as a nomad and how I feel like that the most dangerous thing you can run into is a person out in the national forest or BLMs. Well, and I've tried to give examples, articles, and I've told you about my own experiences, and I'm going to go through these for a little bit. Up to the pop-up camper fire, I thought being a nomad was relatively safe, and we were all out here for the same reasons. But then when the pop-up camper fire happened, and I learned within a couple days that someone had burned it down, and this person wasn't really all that mentally stable. He's caused a lot of troubles before, and he decided that he was angry at the national forest, and he thought we were a campsite host, so he came in and stole our food, and to cover up his crime, he burnt down the camper. Now, I know what people have said. People have said, well, that just doesn't make any sense to me. Why would he do that? Well, you have to go back to he wasn't mentally stable. But when you really start to break it down, you know, we had hunters who come out one year down in Florida, even though they were probably very respectable people in the community. When they came out, they didn't behave properly. They stayed up all night, drinking, having a good time, and then in the middle of the night started shooting off their firearms. You know, that's very scary. Now think about possibly being a female out here alone in that kind of environment. I'm not saying that you would have been hurt by these folks, but I'm sure that would have been terrifying. It was terrifying for me. Right after we got the camper built, the new camper, on the truck camper, homemade truck camper, we went down to test it out, again, down in Florida. There was a guy next to us. We'd been there for a week, and it was quite clear that he had, some sort of mental issue. Now, to give you my background, I mean, I worked with mentally ill folks in a sheltered workshop environment. So it was pretty obvious that he had some mental illness. And he was living in his truck. And one day he was very upset, just pacing up and down the campground. And I tried not to look at him because I didn't want him to take out his anger issues on us. He was, you know, acting like he was swatting flies. Finally, he said, "Don't you understand that you're drawing all these flies in here by running your generator?" Went to South Dakota, and again, you know, people shooting off their firearms in the middle of the night after drinking. So whether you're a victim or just afraid, the thing you have to remember is when you're out there, you don't have the resources that you have in town. You may not have cell phone signal. And if you do have a cell phone signal, how long will it take the emergency services to get to you? You know, I've talked about this. When the pop-up camper fire happened, we pulled down into the campground. The flames were still smoldering. I mean, the camper was completely destroyed, but there were still flames and things burning. So Carolyn and I had a choice to make. Do we put the fire out, or do we leave so we can make a cell phone call to call the fire department? Well, if we'd have left, it would have probably taken an hour to get, maybe even an hour and a half to get the fire department out to us. You know, we would have had to drove down, get help, you know, make the call. They would have had to drove out to us. So we decided to put the fire out ourselves, which means you have to be self-reliant. You are your own emergency services. You are your first responders. You are. I've heard this before. When seconds count, emergency services are only minutes away. And that's really true out here, except maybe it's hours away. And the reason I bring this up again is I've been noticing that I've been feeling really safe here lately. And I got to thinking, wow, I wonder why I feel so safe. I don't feel this being on edge and looking out the window every time a car drives by. Or I just haven't been on edge, and I got to thinking about it. What's different? Well, obviously the biggest difference is we've been staying in town, you know, while we get through our family emergency. We've been staying in towns, and I've been outside Mom's house for, you know, several weeks now. And I don't even think about the cars driving by, people talking outside. I don't think about it. I have not felt unsafe one moment being here. And this is key. Because a lot of times when I make these safety videos, where I talk about some of the issues you're going to run into in the national forest, folks will say, well, no matter where you go, crime is going to happen. And I agree with that. I think, though, being out in the national forest and not being able to get help to you quickly is why it is so much dangerous out in the national forest than it is in town. I mean, think about it. Let's just say some bad guy here in town decides that he wants to victimize me. I jump outside the camper and I start yelling and screaming, or I hit my my emergency alarm on my truck. You know, the remote control, you hit that emergency panic button and the horn starts blaring. People are going to notice. I mean, right here at Mom's house, you know, we got neighbors 15 feet away. It's not that big of a deal. I can run to get help. I have cell phone service here. The police station is 2 blocks away from here. When bad things happen and seconds count, the police officer is only minutes away. Not that that's going to be a big help, but you know, when the police department decides to go on their emergency call, they turn on the sirens. You can hear it quite clearly here. These are all deterrents to crime. People are witnessing the crime happening. There's cameras in town, possibly. You know, everybody's got a cell phone nowadays. People don't want to be caught when they commit their crime. Well, out in the national forest, there's no risk of getting caught because there's nobody around. Let's say I have my pop-up camper parked in front of my mom's house. Same guy, he's mad at the townspeople, and he wants to burn down my camper. Well, it's quite unlikely that he would have done it because he would have definitely gotten caught. There's just absolutely no way he could have avoided people seeing him go inside the camper, catch it on fire. You know, of course, everybody knows everybody around here. They'd have been like, oh, there's that guy. Well, in the national forest, everybody knows him, but they can't keep closer tabs on him because there's just no witnesses. There's no cameras. Thanks for watching. Click like if you like the video, and happy travels.